I'm about to tell you which of these 5 UK properties you should never buy. But first, you need to see why people keep making the same mistake. Everyone's hunting for affordable property right now. UK houses under $80,000 are everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Look at this freehold flat for $19,000. But here's what nobody's saying. Some of these listings are traps, and the rest require sacrifices most people won't admit they can't handle. I spent 3 weeks deep in the UK property market, analyzed every listing under $80,000 across Scotland and Northern England, cross-referenced council tax records, pulled auction histories, studied local market trends, even called estate agents pretending to be a cash buyer just to get the real story. And what I found is going to save some of you from a very expensive mistake. 5 properties, 5 completely different realities. One of these might be a legitimate opportunity. 2 are livable if you know exactly what you're signing up for. One has a price that's been falling for years, and there's a reason. And one, well, it says freehold on the listing, but you'll be paying someone else for the rest of your life. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which is which. Before we start, I need to set expectations. These aren't suburban houses with modern kitchens and driveways. Most of these are auction properties where banks won't lend, where needs cosmetic work means the bathroom's been destroyed, where excellent investment opportunity means nobody else wanted it. But that's also what makes them interesting. Because if you can see through the estate agent language, if you understand what you're actually buying, some of these could work. The key is knowing what you're actually getting. I'll walk through all 5 properties, from most expensive to cheapest. For each one, what the listing says, what the data says, and what the listing conveniently doesn't mention. Then at the end, I'll rank them by actual value, and that ranking is going to surprise you. Let's start with the one that looks the safest and is actually the worst value on this entire list. £75,000. Salisbury Mews, Horsforth, Leeds, 1-bedroom ground floor flat. This is the most expensive property on our list, and it's the worst value. Let me show you why. The listing says offered with no chain and close to local amenities. Sounds reasonable? The photos show a basic flat, nothing special, but nothing obviously wrong. Then you see 2 words buried in the details: cash buyers only. When a property says cash buyers only, that's estate agent code for banks won't touch this. Mortgage companies employ surveyors whose entire job is spotting problems. If they've all said no, that should tell you something. But here's the real problem. The listing says leasehold, and most people scroll right past that word without understanding what it means. Leasehold means you don't own the property. You own the right to live there for a fixed period, and you pay ground rent to the freeholder forever. In England, ground rents typically run $200 to $500 per year. That's on top of your purchase price, on top of council tax. Let's do the math. Purchase price, $75,000. Ground rent over 25 years, $5,000 to $12,500. Service charges, typical for flats, $600 to $1,000 per year, equals $15,000 to $25,000 over 25 years. You're not paying $75,000. You're paying close to $100,000 over the life of ownership, with ongoing fees you can never escape. And the cash buyers only restriction, that tells you there's something structurally or legally wrong that banks spotted. Could be subsidence, could be cladding issues, could be the lease terms. The listing also mentions they've already received an offer of $70,000 and are looking for higher bids. So you're not even getting it at $75,000. You're bidding above, asking on a property banks refuse to finance. This ranks last. The word leasehold is doing a lot of work to hide what this property actually costs. Hold that thought. Let's look at something cheaper, but with its own problems. £19,000. Guide price. Nelson Street, Largs, Scotland. 1-bedroom, 2nd floor flat. This is the cheapest property on our list, and it's going to auction. The listing says vacant. That's estate agent code for nobody's living here, and there's probably a reason. The photos show bare walls, worn carpets, and dated fixtures throughout. Largs is a small coastal town in Scotland with a population around 11,000. It's scenic, it's quiet, but the property market here is limited. This is a second floor flat with no lift. You're carrying groceries up 2 flights every time. Here's what matters. This is an auction property. That $19,000 guide price is the starting bid. On auction day, you'll pay more. Auction properties work like this. Guide price gets you interested, but the final hammer price is typically 20 to 40% higher, plus buyer's premium, plus legal fees. Realistic costs. Final auction price, $22,000 to $25,000. Buyer's premium, $1,000 to $1,500. Legal fees, spend $200. Survey, $500. Immediate repairs for damp and electrics, $3,000 to $5,000. Full redecoration, $3,000. You're looking at $31,000 to $36,000 all in for a second floor flat in a small coastal town with limited rental or resale market. And the listing says, ask agent for tenure and council tax. When basic information is hidden, that's a red flag. If there's a factoring agreement, Scotland's version of service charges, you could be paying hundreds per year on top of everything else. This isn't the worst on the list, but it's not the opportunity it looks like at $19,000 either. Let's look at something that's even cheaper and significantly worse. £20,000, guide price, Avils Hill, Kilbirnie, Scotland. 1-bedroom ground floor flat. And before I say anything else, look at these photos. This is what estate agents call auction condition. The bathroom has a broken toilet surrounded by rubbish. The floors are destroyed. The building itself is a deteriorating stone tenement that looks like it's from the 1800s. This isn't a fixer-upper. This is a demolition project that happens to have 4 walls still standing. Kilbirnie is a former mining town in Ayrshire with a population around 7,500. It's been in economic decline for decades. Property values here have been falling, not rising. Realistic costs. Final auction price, $22,000 to $25,000. Fees, $1,500 to $2,000. Demolition and rebuild of interior, $5,000. New kitchen, $4,000. New bathroom, $3,000 to $4,000. Flooring throughout, $2,000. Rewiring, $3,000 to $4,000. Windows, $3,000. Structural survey, $800. You'd spend $22,000 buying it, another $25,000 to $30,000 making it livable, and it'll be worth maybe $35,000 when you're done. You're losing money from day one. This isn't an investment. It's financial self-harm. And people will still bid on it because the guide price looks affordable. Don't be one of them. Let's look at something that's actually livable. £20,000. Guide price. Ardbeg Avenue, Kilmarnock, Scotland. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Cottage flat. And this one's actually interesting. Look at the photos. This isn't a demolition site. It's clean. Modern kitchen, laminate flooring, double glazing, central heating. The listing says it was professionally valued at $55,000 by RX in December 2025. So why is it going to auction with a $20,000 guide price? Because it's an auction property, and auction properties always have catches. Could be factoring fees, could be tenure issues, could be problem neighbors. The listing says ask agent for several details, which means there's something they're not putting in writing. But here's the math. Final auction price, $23,000 to $27,000. Fees, $1,500 to $2,000. Legal, $1,200. Minor repairs, $2,000 to $3,000. You're all in at $28,000 to $34,000 for a property that was valued at $55,000 6 months ago. Kilmarnock is a proper town. Population around 46,000, only 20 minutes from Glasgow. The economy here is more stable than Kilbirnie or Largs. The listing claims rental potential of $600 per month. That's $7,200 per year. Even if it only rents for $500, that's $6,000 annually. On a $30,000 all-in cost, that's a 20% annual return. But, and this is important, we don't know why it's at auction. The listing says reduced on 15 April 2026, which means it was listed higher and didn't sell. Something scared off buyers. This is the best auction property on this list. It's also still an auction property with all the risks that implies. One more to go, And this one's twice the price of anything we've seen so far. £40,000. Guide price, Crummock Street, Beith, Scotland. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom flat. This is twice the price of most properties on this list. And it's the first one that's actually freehold. The photos show a completely renovated interior. New carpets, fresh paint, modern bathroom, clean throughout. The listing says prime new entry and mentions a home report valuation of $45,000. And crucially, it says freehold. No ground rent, no eternal fees to a freeholder. You actually own this. But here's what's concerning. The listing mentions this property previously sold for $72,000. Then it sold again for $64,000. Now it's at auction with a guide price of $40,000, $72,000 to $64,000 to $40,000. That's not a bargain. That's a falling market. Beith is a small town in North Ayrshire with a population around 6,500. It's 30 minutes from Glasgow, which is good, but the local economy is limited. Realistic costs. Final auction price, $43,000 to $47,000. Fees, $2,000. Legal, $6,200. Minor touch-ups, $1,000. You're paying $47,000 to $51,000 for a property that the home report says is worth $45,000. And it's been losing value for years. The listing claims rental potential of $400 to $500 per month. That's $4,800 to $6,000 per year. On a $50,000 all-in cost, that's only a 10 to 12% return compared to 20% plus on property 4. This is the safest property on the list structurally, but you're overpaying for a flat in a declining market. Now, let's rank all 5. All right, 5 properties. Time to rank them by actual value. Number 5, The Trap. £75,000, but you're paying ground rent and service charges forever. Over 25 years, that's close to $100,000 total. The listing says cash buyers only, which means banks spotted something they won't finance. And it's leasehold, which means you're paying someone else for the privilege of living in a property you'll never own. For $75,000, you could buy properties 2, 3, and 4 combined, renovate all 3, and still have money left over. This ranks last. Don't fall for it. Number 4. £20,000 guide price for a property that needs $30,000 of work to be livable. The photos speak for themselves. Broken toilet, destroyed floors, crumbling building. Kilbirnie's property market is in decline. You'd lose money even if you got the renovation costs perfect. If you're a professional developer with contractors on retainer, maybe. But for most buyers, this is a money pit. Number 3. £19,000 guide price. The cheapest on the list. But you'll pay $30,000 plus all in after auction fees and basic renovations. It's livable, barely. The location is decent if you want coastal living, but it's a second-floor flat with no lift in a town of 11,000 people. Limited rental market, limited resale market. It ranks 3rd because it's not actively falling apart, but it's not an opportunity either. Number 2, £40,000 guide price. This is the first freehold property on the list, and the interior's been completely renovated, but the price history tells a story. $72,000 to $64,000 to $40,000. That's a 44% drop. You're buying into a falling market. The home report says $45,000. You'll pay $47,000 to $51,000 all in. That's overpaying for a property that's been declining in value for years. It ranks 2nd because at least it's move-in ready and you actually own it. But it's not the opportunity it appears to be. Number 1, £20,000 guide price. Best overall value, and here's why. 2 bedrooms instead of 1. Modern kitchen, double glazing, central heating. Rick's valuation of $55,000. Rental potential of $600 per month. Even if you pay $27,000 at auction, add $3,000 in fees and repairs, you're all in at $30,000 for a property valued at $55,000. That's a potential $25,000 profit. Kilmarnock is a real town with 46,000 people and proximity to Glasgow. The rental market actually exists here. Is it perfect? No. It's at auction, which means there's a reason. The listing was reduced, which means buyers walked away. and we don't know what the factoring fees are. But of everything on this list, this has the best risk-to-reward ratio. This is number one. So here's what I learned after 3 weeks of researching this. Cheap UK property isn't a scam, but it's not a fantasy either. Every single listing comes with trade-offs. The question isn't which property is perfect. The question is which trade-offs match what I can actually handle. If you need a property that's move-in ready with no surprises, none of these work. If you need bank financing, most of these won't qualify. If you want Instagram perfect without ongoing fees or renovation work, these aren't it. But if you understand auction properties, if you can handle renovation work or pay contractors, and if you're willing to do proper due diligence before bidding, Property 4 represents genuine value. And here's what you do next. If you're serious, pick one. Visit it. Spend a day in the town, talk to locals. See if the reality matches what the listing says. All 5 properties are linked in the description below. Prices, locations, and listing details exactly as I found them. One last thing. I'm watching these markets. 3 of these 5 properties will sell at auction in the next 60 days. 1 will sit for months. And 1, someone's going to buy it without understanding what they bought, and they'll regret it for years. Don't be that person. Drop a comment. Which property would you actually buy? I read every single one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.